Hi folks, and welcome to Jackson Hole, the gateway to Yellowstone National Park. Today let's talk about, when does Yellowstone actually open? It's not as easy a question as just a static date, and I'm going to go through why that is. Yellowstone is a very large, complex mountainous region with different accesses, different roads, even different weather from one end of the park to another. So when it comes to accessing and planning a vacation, if you don't plan well, you may show up at one entrance to a park and only a different entrance is open, and then you end up having to drive 3 or 4 hours around to get into the park for your planned trip. You don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go through some of the information that Yellowstone has, and I'm going to put a link down in the description for the website that I'm looking at, and that way you can do some of your own research and do a deep dive and make sure that you plan your trip accordingly. So here are the basics of what's going on with road accesses. So only the very north loop from the Mammoth area over into Cook City, Montana is open year-round. Now this doesn't mean that there are things open in Yellowstone year-round in these places, but it is a road that is plowed, and you can get through here if you are traveling and you need to access this part of the park. Now, the first part of the park that actually opens for summertime, and let me premise this with, these are projected dates, meaning if Yellowstone has a very severe winter and too much snow, these dates can potentially change, not just on the dates that they open, but on the dates that they close. They can close early also. So the first summer entrance that opens is the West Yellowstone entrance, and that will allow you to get into the park and get into Old Faithful. But you're going to have to wait till May 5th to get around over to Fishing Bridge and come in the east entrance. And then you're going to have to wait again until May 12th to come in the south entrance. So it's not until May 12th that you can actually do the full loop around Yellowstone. And even at that point, you can't take the canyon up into the Tower Falls area. So that doesn't open until May 26th. And like I said, these are projected. On years with extreme snowfall, this can be delayed. On all of these areas, aside from the North Loop, are scheduled to close on November 1st of each year. But there are times when certain entrances actually close early. So you could have the south entrance close early, but not the west. Or you could have the east close early, but not the west and the south. It depends on weather patterns and the amount of snow that they get. They're not really prepared to plow all of Yellowstone in the winter, and so if it hits a point where they basically know that winter's there to stay and there's too much snow and to plow all these roads, they will close the park early or certain aspects of the park early. Same thing goes with campgrounds. If we go to the official page of operating hours and seasons, this is a very complicated page. Every section of the park opens and closes on a different predetermined date. So, and that's if it's not delayed or if it doesn't close early. So Bridge Bay, you have the campground doesn't open until May 19th, closes September 4th. And then the rest of it opens June 9th and closes at different dates in September. Canyon Village in the Grand Canyon is a bunch of different dates in May. There's a couple June dates here depending on the lodging. And you've got certain things, amenities that don't open until mid-June, June 16th for the trail rides. And this is basically letting the snow melt and then to turn on and operate these types of functions, whether it's a guest cabin, an RV park, a campground. There just has to be enough warm weather for these things to actually function and open. Fishing Bridge, you have May 12th, May 19th, all the way to May 26th for the repairs in the service station. Lake Village, the general store doesn't open until June 2nd. So if you're in this part of the park and you just think you're going to go to a convenience store and get some snacks, you're going to be wrong. You're going to need to make sure that your ice chest and your snacks were from another part of the park or from somewhere outside of the park, and so you don't want to be caught off guard. You don't want to assume that everything's operating just because the road into the park is operating. You may get in there and you may not have a gas station open that you were expecting. You may not have a campground opening that you were expecting. So you really have to be prepared, especially if you're coming in before peak summer or fall. So really, if you're coming in before June 15th, you really want to look at these dates. You want to look at what extra planning you need to do, and it will make your trip a lot more pleasant. You won't be caught off guard having to drive around 3 or 4 hours. And you can check online of if a road is actually open that was supposed to open. So before you get here, if it was supposed to open on May 12th, you can get on the website, and if there's going to delay that opening, they'll post it and they'll say, oh, it's delayed by a week or it's delayed by 2 weeks, and so you're not planning your route to come into a certain entrance to the park and then really ruining your trip if you're on a tight schedule. So Old Faithful is one of the areas that tends to be open longer. The lodges open sooner, so the log cabins, are May 12th. You've got Old Faithful Inn opening as early as May 5th. Some of the other lodging is actually even earlier in late April. And the reason is this little pocket of Yellowstone tends to be warmer and not get as much snow, or not as much snow stays, so they can open some of these amenities sooner. So just take a look at this information. I'll leave the links in the website. If you like our channel and you're planning a trip to Yellowstone, subscribe, and then maybe we can bring you some important information that will make your trip better along the way. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.